Hi all, Mustikalan here, and I'm here again with another spirit science video. Hooray! Hooray! Hooray. My thoughts are a little more organized this time, so hopefully it'll be fine. Hopefully we'll have a much easier time of it. Let's dive into it. Hold on, let's do this so that way you can actually see the video that I'm responding to. Hooray.
Man, I love the moon. Would you say the moon is masculine or feminine?
The moon's a rock.
Spiritually speaking, I've most often heard that it embodies female energy.
Me too, but we have Mother Nature full of life and creation. Wouldn't the moon be the father?
Why do you think that makes sense?
Yeah, you might think so. However, our celestial father is most definitely the sun.
The sun is hydrogen, helium, and negligible bits of other stuff. I get that we tend to personify these things, but come the fuck on, man.
It's because of our father above and our mother below that allows all of this life to exist.
Also, what the fuck is that fish?
The moon is actually neither, which makes me think it must be more like a cousin. But perhaps what's more curious about old Lady Luna is that her existence has actually never been explained by modern science.
First off, scientifically speaking, we have a pretty decent idea of where the moon comes from, but he's about to explore what he thinks about that theory, and I'll just wait for him to do that before I give my thoughts.
Who needs science to explain things?
Right. I mean, I know you don't. But isn't it interesting that using science we can build nuclear weapons, but cannot even explain this most ancient entity that floats at our doorstep?
I just want to point out, building things and getting things to work, that can be done through trial and error. You can trial and error that shit until you find what works. Where the moon comes from, no second takes. It's like a murder mystery. You can put the clues together and you can get a decent answer, but you'll never really know 100% without any doubt unless you got it on video. And of course, no one was around to get the formation of the moon on video. So we're going to have to settle for our detective work, which I think is sufficient. Jordan obviously does not.
What's stranger? The moon is actually far too big to be a natural satellite of the Earth.
That's not true. I don't know what makes you think that. I mean, if we compare the moon to the Earth, and then we compare Charon to Pluto, and then we size Pluto and Charon up so that Pluto is the same size as the Earth, Charon would dwarf the moon. So if it's a proportional thing, then there goes that. And yes, I know that Pluto's planethood is a contentious thing, but it doesn't matter if Pluto's a planet or not. Charon orbits Pluto, and Charon is nearly the size of Pluto. So it's a rather moot point. I don't know where you're getting this. If you mean too big in general, then the Earth is bigger than the moon, and it orbits the sun. So I just don't get what I don't get what angle you're coming at this from, Jordan. You're being dumb. You're being dumb, Jordan.
If I'm not mistaken, there is not a single other planet in our solar system whose moon compares in ratio to our own Earth-Moon ratio.
Again, I just mentioned Charon being nearly the size of Pluto, but I guess that's inconvenient, so Jordan's not going to mention it.
Our moon is actually larger than Pluto.
Oh, well, he mentioned Pluto. He's not going to mention Charon.
The current leading theory in science is that something like a Mars-sized planet-like rock came out of nowhere and hit the Earth, and then it became the moon.
That's not the theory. The leading theory, called the giant impact hypothesis, is that while the Earth was forming, as in still molten, a Mars-sized object that we call Theia hit the Earth, and the ensuing debris, over a very, very long time, coalesced into our moon. The evidence to back this up is simple but convincing. The moon's oxygen isotopic ratios are identical to Earth's. Jordan and his Aussie friend are about to make this sound stupid by lying about it.
And when those physics didn't work out, they came up with a new theory that said that the same planet-like rock-like thing hits the planet, bounces around, and then hits it again, and then becomes the moon.
That's not the theory. You lying liar who lies.
Needless to say, the physics still didn't work.
Well, what the hell? Is there more?
Well, now that you ask, have you ever heard anything about it being hollow?
Oh boy, this is gonna be good.
Hollow?
Yeah, I've got the details somewhere here. Let's see. Here it is. In November of 1969, NASA crashed a lunar module into the moon, causing the equivalent of 1 ton of TNT. NASA said that the moon reverberated like a gong for half an hour. Then they did it again, causing an impact of 11.5 tons of TNT, and it rang like a bell for over 4 hours.
First of all, this never happened. Second of all, even assuming that NASA did in fact blow up the moon, and even assuming the moon were hollow, sound doesn't travel through space, you fucking idiot!
It vibrated in a way as if it were hollowed out, with giant hydraulic damper struts inside of it.
Wowsy wheezy.
Want to know something else?
Always.
The surface of the moon contains minerals like titanium, but also processed metals like brass and mica.
First of all, it does not contain brass or mica. Second of all, mica is not a processed metal. It's a natural stone.
It also contains something called uranium-236 and neptunium.
Neither of which it has. Neptunium's not even real. Are you thinking of Neptunium? Because Neptunium's real. Neptunium. I can't even say it the way he did. That's not real. The moon has oxygen, as in solid oxygen, manganese, iron, silicon, titanium, aluminum, and calcium. I feel like Nemo trying to say fucking anemone. It does not have brass. It doesn't have tin, nor does it have copper. Or, it doesn't have zinc. Brass is zinc and copper, not tin and copper. That'd be bronze. And it does not have mica. Although, interestingly enough, if it had the right, what the fuck is the word I'm looking for? Under the right conditions, some of the materials it has could become mica, but it has not met those conditions. It's not volcanically or tectonically active enough. In fact, it doesn't even have plate tectonics. So yeah.
Which are both minerals that have never been found to occur naturally. Uranium-236 is a long-lived nuclear waste that appears in spent nuclear fuel. And neptunium is a radioactive byproduct of nuclear reactors when plutonium is being created.
I didn't even look into this because it's not relevant what neptunium is, because it's not on the moon. We know what's on the moon. It's not this.
This means that at least some of the rocks on the moon are most likely synthetic. And while it's only a theory, I wouldn't say it's illogical to come to the conclusion that it could be artificially created.
That's really intense.
It would be intense if there were anything to back it up.
Also, you know the craters on the moon?
Intimately.
That's a creepy sentence. Or, that's a creepy way to respond to that, I should say.
Well, craters should vary in depth due to the size and impact of the various space rocks that hit them, right? We can tell that there was a difference in the meteor sizes that hit the moon by the diameters of each crater. And yet, how come all of them, across the board, are the same depth?
They're not. This is false. Next point.
Mother of God. An impenetrable shell! Look at that quote from a NASA scientist. It's easier to explain the non-existence of the moon than to explain its existence.
First of all, this is a fake quote. I scoured the internet looking. You can look for it too. You'll never find it. I never found it. Second of all, you spelled existence wrong twice. Did no one stop to point that out to you, Jordan?
Here's another one. The best explanation for the moon is observational error. The moon does not exist.
I also looked for this, and no one said it. This is another fake quote. Don't know where you got it. I don't know if you made it up because you're malicious. I don't know if someone told you this and you believed it because you're stupid. I don't know what the situation is, but these are both fake quotes.
Oh, here. Read this part here.
David Icke's research.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. David Icke, if you've never heard the name, David Icke, if you've heard... So there's a conspiracy theory that all the powerful, important people of the world, U.S. presidents, the Queen of England, Vladimir Putin, that they're all an alien race of lizard people. This is a thing that people actually believe. And David Icke is the biggest proponent of this, as far as I'm aware, and is the guy who popularized the theory. He wrote a big book about it. So don't go talking about David Icke like he's a reputable source, because he literally thinks lizard people run the planet.
Led him to shaman around the world. Zulu tribes speak of the moon being an egg. They symbolize it to be an egg for good reason. The ancient African and Sumerian legends talk...
We can't talk about African and Sumerian legends as if they are the same thing, because they really, really are not. He's about to talk about two moon brothers as if they were in Sumerian mythology. They weren't. In Mesopotamian myth, which includes Sumer, there is a singular lunar deity. Sin in Akkadian, or Sin, and Nana in Sumerian. Also, African myth is so varied that one tribe can believe one thing, and their neighbors can believe something completely different and unrelated. But go on with your story.
Of two brothers, Wawan and Mpanku, that emptied out the yoke and rolled the moon across the sky to the earth and caused cataclysmic events hundreds of generations before our time.
I'm not sure how it fits. But this says here that the rocks on the moon are older than the Earth itself.
Now, I can see why, given what I'm about to say, I can see why someone who doesn't know about these kinds of things would see that and think that, oh, it means the Earth is older, or it means the moon is older than the Earth. That's not how... Okay. He doesn't elaborate on this, so it falls to me to piece together what led him to say this. Most likely, carbon dating said that some moon rock was older than an Earth rock. The Earth is volcanically and tectonically active. The moon is not. Our rocks are younger as a result, or at least appear younger under carbon dating.
Heavens. You know, I think I've only ever seen one side of the moon. I wonder why it doesn't spin like other planets.
The moon does in fact spin. It's tidally locked. Its spin, its rotation, and its revolution happen at the same rate, meaning one side will always face the Earth. If it didn't spin, then we wouldn't see one side. We would see different sides depending on where we were. Because the Earth spins, and the moon revolves around the Earth. So if it didn't spin, we wouldn't see one side. You get what I'm saying? It's dumb. He's dumb for thinking this.
That's a good question. On that topic too, have you ever noticed that the size and position of the moon is exactly in the right place to create a perfect solar eclipse?
Jordan, if the moon's shadow was exactly 3 feet across, a bunch of people would still get a perfect solar eclipse. If the moon covered the whole Earth, you might have a point, but it doesn't, so you don't.
That's so intense. You know, the moon actually holds the Earth in a sideways tilt.
No, it doesn't.
If we didn't have the moon, we wouldn't have the same length of days or nights.
There's no way to verify that.
Or experience the 4 seasons like we do.
Or that.
It also intimately controls the tides.
Now, he actually is right that it controls the tides, but they're about to get this very wrong.
You're right. And just like the tides, it even bends the water in our bodies. That's why on nights of the full moon, there's always an increase of violent crimes. And probably passionate love.
There's a misconception that the moon's phases are tied into how it controls the tides, which is false. The moon's phases have nothing to do with that. The moon's phases have to do with how it's facing the Earth, see? Or rather how it's facing the sun, because it's always facing the same side of the Earth. But the way the way it controls the tides is how close it is to the Earth on a day-to-day basis as it revolves. As it revolves around the Earth. This is why at high tide... This is why high tide is something that comes in daily and not monthly. Come on, Jordan, get your shit together. Do at least a little bit of research.
It used to be a legal defense to say that one was moonstruck.
I looked very hard and found zero evidence for this.
Do you think these things were deliberately introduced to the Earth? Maybe for a purpose?
And see, this is where I don't really have a whole lot to say, because why isn't really a scientific question. It's a philosophical question. And looking at it, if you look at it as a result of, oh, someone put this here, then why becomes a meaningful question. But if you have an actual understanding of how the moon got there, then why ceases to be a meaningful question, because there is no why.
It's a possibility.
What do you think that purpose could be?
Well, they say that the beings who put it there were trying to bring a new frequency to the planet.
I've never heard this. I don't go in... now, let's be fair. I don't run around in New Age circles. Because I have respect for myself. But who are these they that you're talking about, Jordan? Who says that they put the moon... Who says that the moon was put here to bring a new frequency to the Earth? Is it other New Age whack jobs like you? Unfortunately, I've seen enough of his videos to know that he means some kind of spiritual wavelength frequency. Or reverberation, or whatever the fuck.
Or maybe even provide us with some sort of resonation or gravitational wave that was vital for our survival. I've read that the Earth isn't even in the right place in the solar system anymore.
Jordan, if we were too close to the sun, we'd fry. If we were too far, we'd freeze. We'd be dead either way. We're just fine where we are. Also, I've seen enough of your bullshit to know what you mean when you say frequency, but I don't know how the moon would affect frequency at all. Cat?
The story goes that at one point, the Earth used to exist between Mars and Jupiter, and may have even been slightly larger than it is today. But it was hit, and it flew off course, creating the asteroid belt, which is mostly frozen water and rock debris.
No, it's not.
And wound up in a new orbit, right here. But because of the impact of what happened, this planet was going to die, and it needed some help to keep it spinning and keep its orbit proper.
If the Earth got hit by something and was knocked off of its orbit, it would still spin, Jordan. It would still spin. And what do you think hit the Earth so hard? I saw what you think hit the Earth so hard. I saw that you labeled that fucking thing Nibiru. Come on. Nibiru, really? Come the fuck on. But, like, if it got hit by something, it wouldn't stop spinning. It might start spinning the opposite direction if it were hit hard enough. But to knock the Earth off of its orbit and to get it to spin a completely different way, then it would have to be something absolutely fucking massive. And let's go back here.
And rock debris, and wound up in a new, and may have even been slightly larger than it is.
It wasn't even Nibiru that you had hit the Earth. It was a different object entirely that revolves around Nibiru. Not that Nibiru's real, so it's not like it matters, but still.
Today, but it was hit, and it flew off course, creating the asteroid belt, which is mostly frozen water and rock debris, and wound up in a new orbit, right here. But because of the impact of what happened, this planet was going to die, and it needed some help to keep it spinning and keep its orbit proper. And thus, the moon was put there by some advanced alien race or a higher form of consciousness.
Why do you think so do you think the moon would magically fix the orbit and the rotation? Because I don't. If the moon were vastly larger than the Earth, maybe. But that's just not how that works, friend of mine.
Who saw it as a requirement for the planet's survival. Maybe even our own survival.
Why are you meowing? What? I'm doing a video.
Which would explain why the Earth-to-Moon ratio is found within the human energy field.
He's about to talk about some sacred geometry bullshit that I don't understand. I mean, I understand, but I don't get why he thinks Like, he talks about shapes as if they're important, but I don't understand why they're important. He never takes the time. Not once does he ever explain why sacred geometry is sacred. He just talks about it as if we should already know why it's sacred. You dig? I don't dig.
Then, events such as the falling of Atlantis and rising back to consciousness could take place under circumstances that otherwise couldn't have happened.
Again, this is woo that goes back to the human history video.
That's really amazing. Wait, did you say that the human geometries match the Earth and the Moon ratio?
Hey, I think you're really gonna love this.
Oh, that's creepy.
In Drimbolo's Flower of Life books, he shows these drawings here. As you can see, this is the Egg of Life, mapped over Leonardo da Vinci's Canon of Man, along with a proportionate 8x8 grid.
Now, I actually don't have a whole lot to say about this, but I'm going to let it play out. Actually, let's go through here. He actually gets his math wrong. Right. Where is it? No. He actually gets his math wrong. Where is it?
This is nothing when you consider that the ocean rises nearly 27 miles around the equator.
Yeah, there we go. This is where he gets his math wrong. The ocean at the equator is about 13 miles higher than it is at the poles. Not 27. Also, this drawing of the Earth is really bad. Like, what is this? You drew it like it's a cell or an eyeball with veins. The Earth doesn't have veins of water reaching down to the core, or veins of magma reaching out from the core. Have you seen a diagram of the Earth? I find it hard to believe that you haven't, so I'm going to assume that you have seen a diagram of the Earth, but you think that that diagram is wrong, with no evidence to back up. It all comes down to a lack of evidence.
So what does all of this mean to us, Mr. Patch?
This is where we get into him.
What does it mean?
This is where we get into him talking about, like,
I guess
sentimental spirit science bullshit
that has nothing to do
that
with us.
doesn't
It's
apply.
there for a reason, for a chance. A chance that we might just make the most important decision that we've ever made as a species.
Yeah, he's gonna ramble on about fucking, oh, we're gonna choose love instead of war and chaos, and we gotta be as best as we could be. It's the kind of weird shit, like, it's the kind of weird pseudo fucking, it's the kind of weird, what's the word I'm looking for? Not promotional. Motivational. It's the weird kind of motivational shit. It's overly urgent, sentimental bullshit. It's sentimental, not sentimental. I don't have anything meaningful to say about his conclusion. But, like, you see what he's doing. He directly calls into question accepted science, which is fine. You can question accepted science. Just don't act like whatever you have to say. Just don't act like whatever you're about to replace the science with is more valid just because you think it is or you heard it from somewhere. You gotta have evidence to back this shit up, friend. It's not, you can't just magically come up with some BS like, oh yeah, aliens put it there. Why'd they put it, you get what I'm saying? Like, and not to mention he outright lies about things that science has said. Like, it'd be one thing if he was like, oh, well, I think that there's brass on the moon. Like, that'd be dumb, but it'd be more honest. Instead of just saying, oh, well, they found brass. They haven't found brass. Oh, well, they think that the moon is an object that hit the Earth and became the moon. And then it hit the Earth again, and then it became the moon. Like, that's not the theory. That's never been the theory. I don't know if he's ignorant of the actual theory, or if he knows about the actual theory, but he's lying to make himself sound better. It's just bad. It's bad and dumb, and it's something you really should watch out for. Oh, shit, my cat knocked something over. Anyway, this has been my spirit science video. This isn't going to be edited either. I just got my thoughts more in order before I actually made this. Thank you for watching. Links in the description to the Discord, to the Patreon. Thank you all, and I'll see all you dudes in the near future.